Hello, I'm Yun, a tour guide in Seoul. Today, I'd like to introduce Bukchon Hanok Village. That is the representative traditional village in Seoul. Its name, Bukchon, means North Village, which is named because it is located north of Cheonggyecheon Stream. In the east, there is a theory called Feng Shui. According to Feng Shui, terrain affects people's fate, and the terrain of Bukchon Hanok Village is on the best foundation along with Gyeongbokgung and Changdeokgung palaces. In Korea, the wind blows mainly from the south in summer and mainly from the north in winter. In the north of Bukchon, Puaksan Mountain blocks cold winds in winter, while Cheonggyecheon Stream is located in the south, so cool winds blow in the summer. To the west of this village is Gyeongbokgung Palace, and to the east is Changdeokgung Palace. Therefore, there lived many high-ranking officials here. This is where Cheongseon, a famous painter of the Joseon Dynasty, painted the masterpiece of life, looking at Inwangsan Mountain. He was a famous painter of the Joseon Dynasty. Since his youth, he painted great pictures, so there were people who bought his paintings not only from Korea, but also from China. Cheongseon and his best friend Lee Byung-yeon, who had known each other for 60 years, drew pictures and wrote poems on Inwangsan Mountain. When Lee Byung-yeon was 80 years old, he was dying of a serious illness. Cheongseon painted a picture with looking at Inwangsan Mountain, where the friendship between the two friends was reserved. Finally, this picture, Inang Jasekdo, which is considered to be his best work and one of the representative paintings of the Joseon Dynasty. However, Lee Byung-yeon died 4 days later. This is the hottest place in Bukchon. The skyscrapers between traditional Korean buildings create an unusual view. It looks like Bukchon is the only place in Korea that has such a view. Bukchon is the first place where Catholic Mass was held in Korea by a foreigner father, Ju Mun-mo, in 1794. And this church was built to celebrate this in 1949. When Father Ju Mun-mo first held a Mass here, Korea was a country of worship for Confucianism. By Confucianism, Koreans worshipped their ancestors and maintained their status system thoroughly. Therefore, Catholicism was considered to be the religion that confused the country in many ways. On a cold winter day in 1794, Father Jumunmo smuggled himself from China into Korea to avoid persecution by the Korean government, and they held the first Mass of Korea here in Bukchon. He continued his missionary work all over Korea. In 1801, when he was martyred, the number of believers in Korea reached 10,000. This is Samcheongdong Street, right next to Gyeongbokgung Palace. Along this street, there are many different kinds of museums and art galleries, from shops such as tea houses and restaurants. So on weekends, it is crowded with families and lovers. I've never visited this place at night, but I think it would be more beautiful at night. This is also one of the most visited places in Bukchon Hanok village. The tiled roofs you see over there are those of the buildings of Changdeokgung Palace. Changdeokgung Palace was built in 1405, the early Joseon dynasty. For the beauty of its rear garden, it is the most beloved palace by the kings. And the Changdeokgung is designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its architectural style of Korean own. If you ask Koreans who is the greatest king in Korean history, most people would probably say King Sejong. Not only is he great just because he invented Hangul, the Korean alphabet, but also because he loved his people with all his heart. And this is the place where Prime Minister Baeng Se-seong lived, whom the great King Sejong had always admired and wanted to keep as his mentor and servant too by his side. King Sejong lived in Gyeongbokgung Palace and expressed his respect for his mentor Baeng Se-seong by going to bed only after confirming that the lights in his mentor's house here were turned off every day. Baeng Se-seong was the most upright premier in Korean history. He was capable enough to rise to the highest government post during the reign of King Sejong. But he was always humble and disinterested. He lowered himself by giving the best courtesy even to those below him. It is said that because he hated luxury, the ceiling of his house leaked water whenever it rained, and he always wore worn-out clothes and rode a black cow instead of a palanquin or horse whenever he went out. Naturally, no one noticed that he was the prime minister. Indeed, he seems to deserve to be great King Sejong's mentor. Let me tell you an anecdote about the black cow he rode. Baeng Se-seong was walking on a mountain path on a spring day. He witnessed some children harassing a dying black cow. They poked the cow in the eye and climbing over its abdomen. Mengsa-sung got very angry. He scolded the children loudly. "What do you do bad thing to the unspeakable animal? Go away!" The children ran away in confusion. He is said to have taken the cow home, treated and took good care of it. After that, whenever he went out, he rode the black cow with playing the flute. From the day Mengsa-sung died at the age of 79, the black cow gave up eating and drinking and left for its owner 3 days later. The villagers buried the cow next to the tomb of Mengsa-sung, and they erected a tombstone in honor of its loyalty. This is the tomb and tombstone of the cow. Currently, there are about 900 Hanok houses in Bukchon. Almost all the Hanok buildings that were built in Joseon Dynasty were demolished during Japanese colonial period, and the small-sized Hanok buildings were built on a larger scale instead. However, Bukchon has been keeping its own traditions and identity for a long time in the central part of a huge city. I hope that Bukchon Hanok Village, which has been with the history of Joseon Dynasty since it was founded in 1393, will be with Seoul and its citizens forever. Thanks for watching the video. I hope the epidemic ends soon. And I hope you will always be healthy during the time. I will come back with a story about Changdeokgung Palace soon. See you next time.